it's interesting. It's wonderful to think about that you really are creating your own reality. And to think how expanded your mind can get, that you can be part of this whole unfolding of the universe, that you know that it's coming from your mind and that it's divine energy. And what we're going to talk about today is how does that energy flow? How does it flow into creating what we see our life to be? And in Unity, we do have some good ideas about this. I know a lot of you have heard about the thing called the law of mind action. Have you heard about that? Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. That's the law of mind action. I knew that when I was a small child sitting on the beach and looking out, at the ocean and feeling part of the universe, feeling part of it all. Like I wasn't separate. But somehow, as we grow up and we start acting that we're separate, guess what? That's what the world looks like. It looks like we're all doing different things and we're all separate from each other, from nature. And we start to get into this negative flow, this flow of comparison, of competition, of judgment, of destruction. And we see that we're at a point, literally at a point now, you all know this, as the human family, as a human species, where we no longer can continue in that way. But it all stems from how we're thinking, doesn't it? It all stems from how we're looking at ourselves and each other, how we look at the universe. What is our place here? What am I doing here? What's the purpose for my life? Many of us have just dropped those questions altogether. Don't ask those questions. It's not going to be fun for you. Start asking those questions, because those are the fundamental questions of being. But if you want to take the time to look at the power of your mind, you know that you have an effect not just on your personal world, but the whole world itself. And this is the most important part about thoughts held in mind, produce after their kind. We start with our small sphere of influence, our world, we call it, our personal interaction with each other, with ourselves, mostly with our families next, with our community after that, with our state, our country, our world, the people around us, the animals, the plants, the earth, everything. How do we relate to that? What are we doing on a daily basis? Because we're always in relationship with each other and we're always in relationship with the earth. But what are we doing about that? What are the thoughts that we're holding in our mind? Or are we just kind of moving along automatically? Just like that. Okay, I got to get up. Got to go to work. Got to eat lunch. Got to do this. Got to do that. Put gas in the car. Consume, buy. All those things, right? We just keep doing it, and we're not even thinking anymore. So there aren't any thoughts held in your mind at that point. But what we're trying to reestablish or ignite is the passion for creative thinking, for our power of mind to be ignited to bring about positive change. That was the first line in the song that Jack forgot this morning. Oh, no, it wasn't. That was the line that Ori sings. We're going to bring about a positive change. And I can't help thinking how things keep getting so strange. Why would we keep doing this? Well, these are thoughts that we've held in mind for a long time. And the energy's been flowing towards war and destruction. Sorry, guys. This has been happening for a long, long, long time. Albert Einstein, pretty smart guy, right? Said you can't prepare for war and prevent it at the same time. You can't simultaneously do those things. We've been putting too much thought energy into that and into our differences and into the falsity of separation, because it's a big lie. It's a big illusion. When I talk about the big lie, you're separate from each other. That's the big lie. You're separate from God. That's the biggest lie there is. You're separate from the earth. Huge lie. You're separate in any way. Separation is the big falsity that creates the illusion. And it creates all of our suffering. So we're trying to hold in mind something else. Because human beings create their experience by the activity of their thinking, the activity of their feeling and their beliefs are the other two things. Thinking just isn't the brain activity now, it's the heart activity. The information coming from your heart. What are you feeling? What are the emotions behind it? And what do you believe? So you add those three things together, and that's how you are in the world. What you think about, that's what you become. I think that was the Buddha, actually. You become your thoughts. Oh my God, they're not something separate from you either. It's what you are. You become what you're thinking. So it's really important to look at what's going on in your mind. Because everything is the second part of the third principle of unity. There's only 5 of them, by the way. I think we can master 5 principles. The other part, and to me the most important part of this, is that everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. You want to stop the wars? Stop the thoughts about war. Amazing. Stop thinking that has any place in your mind. That it is a viable option for anyone at any time. It's not an option. The only option we have is to love one another. We have the answer, but we have to be willing to first acknowledge where it has to start. I'm not going to be able to love my neighbor until I love myself. Somebody told me that I must love my neighbor as myself. That was a pretty smart guy, too. He told me to love my enemies. That's not something that I think I'm capable of. But if I'm loving my neighbor, first I'm loving myself, and then I'm loving my neighbor as myself, loving my enemies is going to become possible. And that's what we do. We sit and we do that metta prayer to send all of those good wishes to everyone, even if they're lost in their idea of separation, even if they're lost in their addiction to power or greed for money and their greed for things, in their bloodlust. If they're lost in those things, we need to pray for them more. They need it more than anybody else. So we are creating our experiences, but also everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. And so that's why it's important to get the flow of energy going. Get that flow of energy going in a positive way. So there's another way that this is expressed. It's from James Redfield, the author of The Celestine Prophecy. Did anybody read that book? Yeah? Oh, good, excellent. And The 10th Insight, all those books. Incredible stuff, good stuff, right? They even made a little movie, which was really well done, I thought, about the Celestine Prophecy. So he said, where attention goes, that's where your energy flows. So whatever you're thinking about, that's where your energy is going to flow. And then I think what's even more important is where your intention flows. That's why we are using that in our opening prayer. My intention is to bring more love into the world. I was created in love and for love, so my intention is to bring more love into the world. So where my intention is, the energy is going to flow there. The universe is always supporting whatever your intention is. You know, some folks, they have intentions to do this or to do that. I'm sorry to say, those intentions get manifest as well. if their intention is to create war, if their intention is to hurt others. But that is the last stand. I believe this is true for me, and I want it to be true for you. This is the last stand of the ego. This is the ego's last stand in our world. Because everyone feels this now. It's a moment of shift. It's a moment of change in consciousness. And if you think that it's going to be done any other way, go back and look throughout history how love has overcome hate, how light has overcome darkness. And this is the only way it's going to be overcome. We can't be pouring more and more and more resources into war and expect to have peace. I know you agree with me. But you know what? I heard it's important to teach ourselves so thoroughly about the foundation of peace and live it and have the intention so thoroughly that others get in the flow with us. Because conceptually, there's just a lot of arguments going on. And you can present the truth to the falsity, and it won't believe you, because falsity is truth to that mind. It will actually add more fuel to their fire of belief. So arguing two points of view or two perspectives, two perceptions, is never going to work. Because you're convinced yours is true, I'm convinced mine is true. What I'm here to tell you, and I want everyone here to listen, neither one is true. Only God's truth is true. Only the truth of love is true. Those perceptions aren't true. They will fade away. Look back through history. Everything that we thought we believed has already faded away. We're evolving. And I'm asking each person here to evolve. Let go of your concepts and perceptions of the others. There are no others. That was a great question that I think it was the Dalai Lama. They asked him, how should we treat others? He says, I'll tell you. There are no others. Well, what kind of an answer is that? That didn't answer my question. Damn. Because I've got this scenario set up where there are other people, and I need to know how to deal with that. Do you know how you deal with that? With the truth. There are no others. Oneness is the truth. Separation is not. Well, come on now. How's that going to solve my problem? Think about it. Every time, every moment in history where humanity has evolved, it's because we've recognized our oneness. And the great blessing of all the tragedy that's going on in the world right now is that we are realizing that we are one. That is me over there being bombed, and that is me over there sending the bombs. It's both you. It's both you. When we bring those two together, something else can happen. You know what happens? The true self begins to grow, to bloom. The falsity falls away. There's no need to attack or defend any longer. Attack and defense is part of the same old story. So yes, it's important to feel the pain of the others who are being oppressed, but it's also important to know that as a human being believing in separation, you are also the oppressor. Our oneness lies really in acknowledging that only the light in us is real, that only the creations of light are real. Everything else will fall away. And I believe it is falling away. It's the last stand of the ego. It's the only way we're going to evolve and change. And you guys know it. So what I'm offering today is you can hold these thoughts in your mind. This is the most important thing for me, is that, I'm devastated by the news, and all of a sudden, I have to practice. I have no choice but to get into prayer and meditation and affirm the truth within myself. So in order to fairly evaluate what's going on in our thinking, we're going to have to look at how the mind operates. What phase of mind are you in? So there's 3 phases of mind. Here they are. Number 1 is conscious mind. These are the thoughts, the images, the concepts, the symbols, the words, the stories that we're operating in every day, that we're telling ourselves. Most of us just stay there, we hang out, we're comfortable there. I can understand this. That's a chair. I'm comfortable with that. I know what that is. This is the body. Even when it's hurting and sick and painful, you feel comfortable because you think you know what it is. So you're in the conscious mind most of the time. That's a bad guy. That's a good guy. This is the conscious mind. You're following me so far? You got everything figured out, right? Yeah. No. Good. Thank you. She said, no, I don't. Thank you. So what I want to look at is, what have I stored up in the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is the collection of experiences, our impressions of the world, a lot of things that we stored in memory. And when you go into the subconscious, some psychologists say that you're storing a lot of loving memories in there. A lot of them will say you're just storing up all the trauma and the pain in there. But if you really look at it, the majority of it really is beautiful, loving impressions. I still have the impression of sitting on the beach when I was a child, feeling one with the universe. It's still in there in my subconscious. I still have a lot of memories in there of miracles that I've experienced throughout my life. Lots of them. Lots of healing. But what we've done is we hung out in this, what we call conscious mind, which is kind of unconscious, to tell you the truth. And we forget about all that stuff. We forget how wonderful life really is. We forget how loving people really are. We forget how beautiful this earth really is. We forget all those things because why? We're addicted to our conscious mind. Subconscious is a lot more difficult to access for the human being. So we don't spend time doing it. And what we'd like to do when our conscious world is too much to handle, we don't want to take responsibility for it, we'll send that somewhere else. It gets stored in the subconscious. That's why there's a lot of trauma also stored there and a lot of negative emotions. And we don't want to access those. So guess what? We're not accessing anything in that realm. We're afraid to go there. But there's something else going on, and this is going to be our salvation. The 3rd phase of mind is the superconscious mind. That's our connection with God. That's what we can store in the subconscious. That's what we can manifest in the conscious, is our connection with God. The superconscious. Everybody went, whoosh, superconscious. I'm superconscious. I feel it. I see you. Well, maybe not a couple of you guys, but I felt some of you. As soon as you even hear that word, wow, you remember. And your mind becomes super aware or super conscious. We call it mindfulness. I'm super conscious of everything that's going on. You can be really, really conscious in every moment of everything that's going on and paying attention to all of that. The reason that we don't want to, we're afraid of all that negative thinking we've stored up in the subconscious. But I want to tell you something that's happened to me. The more I access the superconscious mind, prayer, meditation, mindful living, the more I access that, those negative things I stored in the subconscious begin to disappear. It's called healing. Oh my goodness. The things that I was thinking that weren't true, because they're not true, they disappear. Even the experiences that I had that I considered very negative, I can see the blessing in them. There's a blessing in everything, in every circumstance, at all times. God is in operation at all times, no matter what it looks like here. There is a loving source that is in operation. So when I get in touch with that, you know what? Everything's perfect in that realm. There is no sickness in the mind of God. There is no violence in the mind of God. There is no separation in the mind of God. And I know you believe it because now I've got you. You're looking at me like, yes, I feel it. Superconscious mind. Mind of God. This is where I live. Or at least this is where I want to live. Once you feel it and get in touch with it, now you can go there. Now you know what it feels like. If you want to heal everything that's going on in that subconscious, bring the superconscious mind into relationship with what's in your mind, what's underneath there. I see the peace because you do that. And I know you guys are doing that all the time. You bring this flow of peace with you. And that's all I'm saying, is that you can do that in the world. Bring the flow of peace with you. If we're not talking about how horrible it is, we're bringing the peace with us. We're talking about how wonderful it is right here and right now. And I welcome you into that wonderful mind of God. If there's no sickness in the mind of God, if there's no death, if there's no separation, if there's no violence, if there's no judgment, why don't I hang out in the mind of God more often? Because I think it's something out there, and I don't remember. It's something in here. That my mind is one with the mind of God. It's not the mind that's your problem, it's the thoughts that you hold in it. A lot of teachings, a lot of Eastern teachings in particular say, you need to get away from the mind. You need to just forget it entirely and dwell in the silence. Now that's good, but what happens? As soon as you stop, 20 minutes of meditation's over, guess what? The mind comes back. Oh my goodness, it's talking to me again. I know people that meditated 10 hours, I'm serious, 10 hours a day. 11th hour, oh no, it's back. The mind's not going anywhere because there's only one mind. That's the mind of God. You have this power of experiencing your world. You have this power of experiencing the universe and interacting with it. That's the important thing. We're not separate, so we interact with the universe. And so that's energy flow. Now, what we do with that energy flow is we tend to put it into words and symbols, and then we shape this grand illusion. It doesn't have anything to do with reality. I'm getting a little deep for some of you guys, but that's okay. All I'm saying is that the flow of energy is the mind of God. I can actively participate in the flow of love energy. I can actively not block it from flowing into the world. It's not the mind that's the problem. It's the thoughts that I'm holding in it. Now, thoughts being energy, they don't have to take symbolic form. They don't show up in language or reflections. Do you understand? The symbolic form, now that's a body, that's a chair. This is symbolic. If it's light, if it's God, I'm just saying, oh, that's God showing up as Brenda. That's God showing up as the chair. Like it's all light, it's all God, it's all love. And we say this all the time, there is only love. And you don't believe it when you look out in the world because you see the opposite. But what I'm saying is you're only seeing what's in your mind. You've trained your mind so long to believe in opposites. We have even forgot how to feed it that singular energy of love. Okay? Here we are. It's not the mind that's the problem. The mind is a powerful tool for God if you let it. It's the thoughts that you hold in your mind. The world is a canvas to our imaginations. This is Henry David Thoreau. So what is your world looking like? Because it's only your painting. It's a canvas for your imagination. Right, Joanne? What's the painting that you want to paint of your life? And I think that's really important because you're the artist. It's your life. It's not somebody else's. You're in charge. Paint the picture that you want to have. You'll see how wonderful it is. And you're surprised. You go, I can't believe this happened. But you know what? You're painting the picture. We're painting the picture of what spiritual community that we want. Wow, here it is. And it's growing. And I want you to paint that picture. I want you to be actively involved in painting the picture of this spiritual community. Paint the picture of the relationships you want. I guarantee you will have relationships that work 100% of the time when you want it to work 100% of the time. You know, I stopped and said, I'm not having any more romantic relationships until I find this particular energy, this particular person. Now, I had no idea there was someone in Colombia doing the same thing. But I had literally said no more of relationships that don't work or work part of the time. That's even worse because it's really going great and then all of a sudden you go, hey, what happened? This isn't working anymore. So I was saying, no, this is what I want. And I held the thoughts or the impressions or the feeling in my mind. And guess what? You guys did that too. Surprise! There you go. All of a sudden, you're with a partner. You say, I can't believe it. She appeared there. And it was literally, for me and Lily, it was just like that. I was in Colombia at a Course in Miracles retreat, and she was at the same retreat. And we ended up like just standing next to each other, looking at each other, going, this feels too familiar. Like, I can't believe this is exactly the feeling I had when I was meditating on the partner that I wanted. And from that moment forward, I mean, maybe it was love at first sight, but maybe we did a lot of preparation beforehand. It didn't just was the first time. I saw her in my mind before I saw her physically. She saw me in her mind before she saw me physically. So there was a lot of preparation there. And I think we need to do the same thing for the world that we want to live in. We need to do that preparation of feeling and experiencing the peace that we want, the love that we want. Start feeling it within ourselves. Start living that in your life. Live that every day. No matter what's going on, no matter what tempts you otherwise. Just live that because the world is a canvas for your imagination. And I think the only thing that goes beyond imagination is the mind of God. I think that's really the next step. Beyond imagination. We go back to what Ernest Holmes said. That there's only one mind. And that's the mind of God. And that which comes from the mind of God's already here. I think that's the important thing to remember. It's already here. We simply have to open up to it. We simply have to accept it, experience it with all of our being. Because heaven is here now. The mind of God is my mind. So let's look at what Ernest Holmes said one more time regarding world peace. I know there is but one mind, which is the mind of God, in which all people live and move and have their being. I know there is a divine pattern for humanity, and within this pattern, there is infinite harmony and peace and cooperation and unity and mutual helpfulness. I know that the mind of man, being one with the mind of God, shall discover this method, the way and the means best fitted to permit the flow of divine love between individuals and nations. Thus, harmony, peace, cooperation, unity, and mutual helpfulness will be experienced by all. I know there shall be a free interchange of ideas, of cultures, of spiritual concepts, of ethics, of educational systems, and of science discoveries, for all good belongs to all alike. And this is painting the picture of the world that's already here, but we don't experience it if we're not focusing our thoughts on it and letting our energy flow in that direction. So I let this energy flow. I know because the divine mind has created us all, we are bound together in one infinite, perfect unity. Wonderful. What a great name for a spiritual center. So in bringing about world peace, my friends, I know that all people and all nations will remain individual but unified for the common purpose of promoting peace, happiness, harmony, prosperity. I know that deep within every person, the divine pattern of perfect peace is already implanted. The divine pattern. I now declare that in each person and in leaders of thought everywhere, this divine pattern moves into action and form to the end that all nations and all people shall live together in peace, harmony, and prosperity now. And so it is. Amen.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityonCapeCod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.